Welcome, Vers. Obviously, this is version 4. Today we have Warren of Tech Wars fame, uh, and I'm very excited. Or I guess the associate now.
Yeah, the associate. That's my new rebrand.
I dig it. I dig it. It adds prestige.
Yes, thank you. It's luxury, yacht, speedboat, women, lust,
hang gliding,
degeneracy,
degeneracy, depravity, wealth, all the good things. Simple, really.
Simple, really. Exactly.
I'm actually also here with my my TekWars2.0 co-host, John. So he might be in here and there.
I'll be chiming in every now and then.
Possibly. So he's my emotional support for this. And we can see a luxurious palm tree ridden
unnamed location,
undisclosed location that behind me, very luxurious. But unfortunately, there are many children playing hide and seek around outside, and you might hear some screams because they are some annoying children. But that's all that I need to preface with.
Yeah, they're cool. So I was really interested in like talking to you because I feel like after I started the podcast, I found yours and I was like, oh wow, they're already doing the thing I wanted to do. So I was like, oh, this is awesome because I get kind of a blueprint from the originator, but also I see that you're doing a lot of like startup stuff on the side, which is great because I think that more people in the space need to like make moves in real life and not just be cool online. And being able to talk to someone who's doing that, other than like the crypto people I talk to who are also degenerate, it'd be nice. It's nice to have that kind of like to have someone who can speak on the topic.
Yeah, no, it's exciting where even my associate John here is working on a project. I started with wanting to revive the autistic Mercury, and that was a small project in and of itself. And I wanted to do dissident literature publishing through IR Publications, which I LLC'd. And I ended up not doing anything with that because I was lazy and retarded. So I just ended up running the Autistic Mercury. And I think the listeners know what happened with that. I don't know what my stance on AM is anymore, so I just haven't been touching it. But for those who don't know about AM, we would publish reviews of new media, philosophical inquiries, history articles, just all sorts of autistic fixations. And that was my real internet introduction to becoming not introduction. I've been extremely online since I was probably 12 years old, but it was definitely my introduction to this side of Twitter. And once I had this falling out of sorts, and once I realized the gap in the market for a good project, which I can't really disclose too much about on what that gap in the market is or what the startup I'm doing is too much. But once I realized this, I wanted to take advantage of it and actually do something in my life to make myself financially independent, successful, luxurious, handsome. I'm kidding about the latter two, but really to make myself financially independent and to do something really productive with my life, but also something that could help out our sphere in a much, much broader, larger way, and something that could help out myself and the world. So that's what brought me to doing this startup. And I've been working with some really talented people on it. I can't name one of them. My co-founder's name is Ian. He's a real cool guy. Shout out to Ian. But the other one, we have an advisor who is very well known, and everyone listening probably knows him. Probably the most canceled person on the entire planet. But for those reasons, I cannot disclose who he is.
Very cool. So then I guess obviously you can't disclose too many details because then that'll pretty much dox you. But can you like speak on like finding a gap in the market, not your particular gap, but like what I think that's like the first step for any business is like trying to figure out where you can create a viable solution, and like how did that kind of speak? Like how did a gap kind of present itself to you?
Yeah, so it was actually, I think the best answer to this is to get frustrated by things. Allow yourself to get frustrated by things and realize why you're getting frustrated. You will notice that products that you're using and that are built and established are not as put together as they may seem. Any small inconvenience or problem that you come up with or come across in an interface or in a client or in a platform or clothing, any kind of problem that you see, you can turn that into an opportunity to improve upon it and compete with it. So I think that that's probably my best piece of advice in how I found a gap in the market was through getting frustrated by the lack of proper working of the products that I was using. And I can disclose a little bit. I just can't say names and company name and stuff like that. But I was using Gumroad, and I was using Gumroad to host TekWars actually. And we've gotten so many complaints about using Gumroad. It's why
Gumroad is a pain in the ass.
With 2.0. Yeah, it's why we with 2.0 switched to Patreon, even though it's
also has its own quirks.
Yeah, it has its own issues, but it functions better. People would not be able to download episodes on Gumroad. They'd say an episode wasn't showing up. They'd no fast forward, rewind buttons, small things, big things. I realized Gumroad doesn't work. Patreon is going to censor you and ban you from the platform if you do anything in the wrong direction. So we have to be very careful. And it's given me the vision to possibly, I don't want to give away too much, but to do something about it, to give the right solution. And that's something that I'm really excited about. I'm really passionate about this project, and I'm really going full steam ahead on it. Been working on it a lot.
That's awesome. And I think that also speaks to a good point. Like, I think, especially now in like the internet age, it's, I don't know, people always say like, find your passion, but really it's never been find your passion. That's like such a, like a lie that I think people get trapped in. The answer is really, it's a cliche, and it literally takes you away from what you should be doing. You should really just be doing shit, get so bored that you find like a niche, and then in that niche, like, get frustrated, as you said. And then you end up like creating something because to like subvert this. Which I think
go closer to it.
That's kind of similar. It's not like I found a problem in something. It's more that I got really bored playing video games all day in quarantine, and I realized if I spent half my time like working on or something that could like make me money. I'm talking weird because there's a delay.
Oh, yeah. It's cool.
But yeah, so I've basically just spent all the time that I would have been playing video games on something that will look good on my resume and make me some money. So
yeah, I mean, and it really is that straightforward. Like I found myself in crypto because I was just like bored. And like, you know, the first thing I did in crypto was like write a book, because I was just like talking to people, like older people, and they were just like, they kept asking me the same questions, and I was like, why is there no like primer that's like 50 pages that could literally tell you everything that you would need to know? When I would go to these like crypto meetups in New York City. And so like the very first thing I did was like write that, and then that kind of just started opening doors, and I started meeting people, and the next thing you know I'm in a community, and like, you know, I have things that are on my resume. I'm writing for these crypto companies and blockchain companies. And I'm like, oh, it really is just as simple as get bored. If you get bored enough, you do something interesting. Oh, did we lose you? Uh-oh.
Sorry about that.
I don't know. It's cool. We lost you there for a second. But ultimately, the paraphrase, it was just like, if you get bored enough, you find things to do. Like, the problem with video games, even though, I love them, I play my autistic rhythm game every day, is that it trades in like the reward system in like virtual space that has like no practical outcome. Whereas like putting that same energy into like your life will reap crazy rewards. Like, I'm top 1% in this fucking game that I really shouldn't be playing at all. But like I should be putting, and I only play it like, like when it's like 7 a.m. or something, and I should be asleep. But then like, even still, it's like I should be doing something even more productive. But
yeah, I think John could actually speak on that, because he's been playing. John, you like were playing. You got bored of WoW Classic, and then, I mean, you could talk about this, and then you got into RuneScape, and you were fucking addicted, and then that's what led you to starting your startup. But before actually I let you, John, get into that, apologize for gatekeeping you. I wanted to mention something that you said was really, really important, that you don't have to be looking for the passion project, and if you do that, you probably won't find it. Mm-hmm. You have to have faith that it'll come to you, and it might take a while. I never thought anything would come to me, but something really kind of promising did. And it just has to be a natural process, is what I would suggest to anyone. If you force it, it won't work out.
Yeah, and that sounds like a platitude, but it really isn't. Like, you have to. You're the way I like to think about it is like, for example, I have a degree in math and like programming. Like, I was going to be a programmer because that seems like a good idea, right? But yeah, I'm not going to compete with that autistic spur who programs 10 hours a day because that's just what he does to pass time.
Curtis
right?
Yarvin.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there's no universe where I'm going to beat him because I don't have that like natural inclination to do that. Right. So me even trying to participate in that realm doesn't make any sense. Right. Whereas like being an autistic spurg online and, writing about philosophy or whatever, that I just do that when I'm bored, and I'm like, oh, that's what I should be focusing on.
Yeah. And with that boredom comes so much ability to do, I mean, God, I kind of love being bored, because I can just autistically browse Twitter and be the associate and tweet about luxurious things and wealth. But jokes aside, I mean, it's really being bored is one of the best things for coming up with ideas. And when you're quote unquote wasting your time gaming, I honestly don't think it's that big of a waste of time, because your consciousness is always going to be generating things and ideas on things you come across. And I mean, that's going to be productive no matter what. I wasted so much time playing video games in my youth or like griefing in Minecraft when I was like 12 years old, Minecraft beta. But I think of it as like all roads that I've taken brought me to where I am today. Mm-hmm. And I'm not some like super successful person or any bullshit like that, like talking to people from the rooftops like I'm above them. I'm just trying to say, what I'm trying to say is that like you don't need to force it. You don't need to do too much. I'm just like you. I'm a autistic Twitter user. Like, you don't like this. It will come. It will come. Mm-hmm. But John, you talk about your time slippage and how you because this is really on topic. You had a total time slippage, and that led to you having an idea.
Yeah. Well, without speaking too much about what I'm actually doing, just because, like, one, I don't want people to know what it is before it comes out, and two, because I don't really want to be directly associated with it, with like TekWars and all that. But yeah, so I was in classes at that point. I was taking college courses, so I wasn't completely wasting my time. Mm-hmm. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you again.
Okay, yeah. But yeah, so I wasn't completely wasting my time at that time period, but I was just, probably spending an average of like 12 hours a day playing WoW. And then when I got burnt out, I just quickly moved on to the next thing that I could spend my life on, which was RuneScape. And at that point, I wasn't even taking college classes. So I was spending like, honestly, probably close to like 16 hours a day just playing. And it was like pretty sad, to be honest.
I've been there.
But,
I've been there.
yeah, but then I was playing, I just realized, I was like, what the hell am I doing? So one of my personal hobbies is just like screwing around on Photoshop. Like I'm not even good at Photoshop.
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of know the basics. Warren knows what I'm talking about. Same thing with iMovie. So I figured like, why don't I just, I don't know how to word this without, I don't know. I just said, how can I monetize this and market it and do something with it? And that's what I'm doing right now.
And my point on why I want to bring that up is like, sorry.
Like I just want to see, like, as neats, we have all the time in the world, so why not, I guess, hone that time into doing something productive and good?
Exactly.
It doesn't have to be like Twitter content or like buying Chainlink. Like I mean that's good to like buy Chainlink, but like you shouldn't put all your hope into that, because I see a lot of that.
And I also like to, and I think that like neats kind of forget like how tapped in they also are. Right, there's like a time dilation thing that people miss. Like when you're on Twitter and very online all the time, you're months ahead of the curve on like every topic. Even if it seems old to you, you're still. Yeah, it's a great example. Corona. We were talking about it before anyone even mentioned it, and we already had like the cure and like all the other things before they were like shutting the country down. Right, so. These are things that
I thought I was crazy for hoarding water and snacks and all that.
Exactly. I bought a water filter just because I was like, oh, people are going to buy bottled water. So let me just get a gravity filter. And like I was, we were preparing for things before it's even mainstream, to the point where like people think you're crazy and that you're conspiratorial. Right. And we see constantly how quickly all these conspiracies are being shown to be like correct. It's because we're little months ahead of everything. Even when it's stale to us, it's still ahead, right?
Yeah, so you see the trend before it happens, pretty much.
Exactly. So you should be like, I hate using the word, but capitalizing on this and like using it to your advantage.
Yeah, 100%. I think capitalizing off being a NEET is one of the most fortunate things that could happen to you. It should not be looked down upon in any way. NEETdom is really a blessing, because otherwise, if you were just like, that's how you end up in a 9-to-5 for the rest of your life. Like just going with the motion, like being unhappy at like 40 years old, waiting for your retirement for the next 20 years, slaving away at a job. Those are people who were never NEETs. NEETs have a very special superpower, and that's autism, and the ability to capitalize off of their autism, which is to fixate on things excessively to the point where you realize something needs to be done about something or something like that. But if I can, I would like to recite a short paragraph from Sam Hyde, an unreleased little message here about time travel acceleration principle. And that has to do with what we're talking about in terms of passing time. So passage of time is related to how much you notice it passing. To speed time, do something fun. Watch TV or play a video game. You'll never know where that time went, and yet it has gone somewhere. Effectively, you become a time traveler. You enter into the time slipstream at age 14 when you first begin to master Dota, Diablo 3, World of Warcraft. You emerge 4 years later with nothing to show and no recollection. This is a hefty price to pay, but you are that much closer to the singularity. You can fast forward through life to see the great technological achievements of the future. Fritter your time away. The less you notice it, the faster it goes. Mm-hmm. And that's the recital.
And all the more if you're doing it towards an end that you want to see like emerge in your life.
100%.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Uh, cool. So like, all right. So finding a niche is the first. I mean, finding your like gap in the market is like your first step. Do you find that like because it's something you're passionate about, did you find that you have any motivation issues on the matter, or you just kind of were like, this is what I feel like doing, so now it's like all in gung ho?
Yeah, this is, if I'm understanding your answer or your question correctly, this is something I'm extremely passionate about, absolutely fixated on. It's all I spend my time thinking about. It's all I work on, and am blessed with the quarantine to be able to be doing so. It's it's a true passion project for me, but not only that, it's something that I believe will be very lucrative. This project came to me. If quarantine didn't happen, then this project probably wouldn't have happened. And I think having passion for it is a really, really good, necessary thing. But something I was just talking to an associate about is to distance yourself from it at the same time, because the more passionate you get, the more emotionally involved you are with it. And the more emotionally involved you are with it, the more prone you are to freaking out when things with it go wrong, things you don't expect happen. You'll rush things. Like I've been rushing through my business plan and business proposals, and have been having to edit them so many times that it's retarded. I can't even explain it. But yeah, does that answer your question really?
Yeah, that definitely answers it. I think also this further points to the skills you learn from video games, right? If you get tilted, you start to play like shit, right? The same, like that's one of the biggest transferable skills to like life. Like when you're dealing with a business or any kind of project or entity, if you get too emotionally involved, you can't think clearly, you can't make the correct decisions. You just got to rely on like the skills you've developed in life.
Yeah, that's why I want to pick up meditation. I don't meditate, but I've been told to for several years now, and I've still yet to pick it up as a hobby or a protocol in my life. But meditation is really something that I can hypocritically give the demand that everyone go out and start meditating, because that'll really free your mind and separate you from your ego. And when you're separated from your ego, you're more distanced from everything else, but also just as attached as you need to be. You see things clear pill.
Clear pill for sure. Speaking of clear pill, with your with TekWars 2.0, like what I noticed that it's like a little more grounded. I guess it feels more like, I guess like tech oriented, which like obviously there's still like the philosophical elements, but a lot of the episodes are far more practical, I feel like, or like there's like practical projects and practical, just there's actual like implementation from a lot of the guests from what I've seen. Is that like a deliberate choice, or is that just like what you focusing on now?
Yeah, 100% deliberate. Thank you, by the way, for the compliment. I really appreciate when people appreciate the show and the 2.0 work. But it is deliberate. I'm not a hardcore philosophy theory cell. I can't talk for hours about Nietzsche and his philosophies, or Kant or Schiller, Schelling. I'm just not a theory cell philosophy buff, and I don't want to pretend to be. So I told people at the start that TekWars 2.0 was going to be a big twist involving things that I'm actually passionate about, and that I wasn't going to continue being a faux philosophy buff, because I'd just be talking out of my ass and embarrassing myself, which you never want to do. That's advice for people. Just always be honest. The truth is beauty, and what's beautiful is always good. So this twist, we've been bringing on lol cows. We've been bringing on tech CEOs and engineers, and these are things that I'm a lot more passionate and interested in, and it's something that I am able to talk about a lot more. I am really interested in the lol cows. I spend a lot of my time on YouTube looking at random freaks of different nature, like the Del Rey Misfits, Jason Genova, Gothic King Cobra, Stunna Boy Get 'em. There's so many. Hampound 93. And these are like really special, literally special, really interesting though people who have really great stories to tell. And that's what I want to do with Tech Wars, is find some real niche freaks and interview them about their actual humanity, humanize them. The tech stuff, I'm super interested in Urbit. I have my Urbit as a hobby. I am always breaking it, so then I'm always fixing it. And that's just a fun thing for me to do. So I enjoy talking about Urbit a lot. And we'll we had Kenny Rowe, who's an engineer for Talon, the parent company of Urbit. And so we talk about Urbit a lot. We talk about tech stuff a lot, like decentralized networks and peer-to-peer networking, which is something I'm definitely super interested in. And oh my gosh, these kids and their hide and seek. There's really a lot more interest in what I'm doing. In TekWars 1.0, I was interested in the guests a lot. I was lacking interest in kind of what topics would end up devolving into. So I found myself getting lost quite a bit and just wanting to really interview the person or the personality or the brand and figure out more about them, like whether they were niche, weird Twitter personas like Zero HP or Curtis Yarvin, who's not a Twitter persona, but still a niche guy. There's so many delicious tacos. And so on TekWars2.0, that's something I'm taking a hefty turn into, is what similar to what you're doing, is interviewing these niche Twitter personalities and humanizing them, showing the behind, instead of behind the curtain, behind the posts, and showing the humanity behind that person, their thought processes. And I think that's a really interesting thing. And this sphere is, I think, growing. I think it's going to be growing exponentially soon because of this post-woke culture, I call it. People getting fed up and tired of progressivism pushing so far towards endless bounds that I really think people are going to start taking a turn. That movie, That Feel When No GF by Alex Moyer, great film, great girl who worked on it or directed it. That's like the quintessential post-woke film, because not only the subject matter of humanizing these niche incel weird Twitter guys, but also what it attracted, which were Steve Jobs' wife watched the movie. Mike Judge, director of Idiocracy and King of the Hill and all that, they watched the movie. Chris Rock called, I don't know if I should be sharing this, I'm sorry, Alex, but Chris Rock called Alex, congratulated her on the movie. Jonah Hill called, congratulated her on the movie. These are huge people who are super Hollywood and are noticing the paradigm shift in culture, and this dissident stuff is going to be less dissident and more mainstream, I think, in the future, because
100%.
we're doing the right thing.
Yeah. I very much like, I'm glad that you said that, because I've been trying to, I mean, part of the reason I started my podcast was because I would talk to people about, like, you know, these characters like Zero or whomever, and in like my day-to-day normie life, and they would just be like, well, why are you listening to these like psychos online? I'm like, how are you missing the clear, like, not only like brilliance of a lot of these characters, like some of these bits are so funny, like, and like they, you know, are just very clever bits, but like also their writing is great, and like it's clear that they're doing this because like the culture is such that you can't even like demonstrate artistic expression if it's not like ideological in nature. Otherwise, you're canceled, which is ridiculous. And like I've more and more, you're starting to notice that like this part of Twitter is like, I guess everything else is kind of downstream from this part of Twitter. Like even like Zero's thread was mentioned on Joe Rogan most very recently, or like, you know, I'm personally pretty convinced that several celebrities have. Oh yeah, Weinstein, one of the Weinstein brothers, Brett, like pretty much went. Yeah, Brett went through Zero's post on Joe Rogan. He didn't mention Zero by name, but it was his post. It was his thread about the Korean War.
Oh my god!
And wow. He just couldn't remember. He couldn't remember Zero's name because, you know, his @ is like, you know, a hex, whatever. Yeah. But it was his thread, and I think there are a bunch of celebrities that I'm convinced have to be in this part of Twitter. They just are obviously using an alt, because of some of the things they say on there. Like, you know, when I see them in appearances, like Tim Dillon, for example, or whomever, whatever. But yeah, I just think that time will show that this is kind of the correct path of things.
Yeah, it brings me back to something that I said earlier, which is always tell the truth. The truth is beautiful, and what's beautiful is always good. I think that does mainly stem from an article that Curtis Yarvin wrote for The American Mind. I think it's The Deep State versus the Deep Right, where he talks about aesthetic warfare. But that's one of my favorite articles. By the way, I talked about it with Giant Geo on our last podcast, and we talked so much about the aesthetic beauty and the beauty of beauty. And it's something that BAP always says as well. And I'm a big BAP fan because I really, truly believe that everything that's beautiful is what's right. And I think that Curtis is the one who said that truth is beauty and beauty is always good. Something along those lines. And I couldn't think of a more correct phrase because I don't know, that really resonates with me. I find it to be so true, and it's I don't know, you can't disagree with it. I mean, people that are having their ideological stories and narratives that they tell themselves, it's usually not the truth. When you deny things and censor yourself, then you're really doing something ugly. And when you're doing something ugly, then you're doing something wrong, and you shouldn't be doing wrong things. So even if it's brutal, and even if it's harsh, or even if it's what's another one of those, I don't know, but even if it's harsh or anything like that, then you say it or think it, believe it, because if it's the truth, you shouldn't be afraid. Stick by the truth. That's my modus operandi.
And people resonate with that. Even like like if you're in like, you know, ideological corners, right? They might, you know, on the surface say one thing, but behind closed doors, people always will congratulate, or like people will always respect that you stuck true to your truth. When you like, if you maintain congruency, it's really difficult for someone to be like, you know, to like try to call you out. Like I think you completely avoid so many catty like social situations if you just remain true to who you are.
Yeah, exactly.
And a lot of the left right now, especially, or like people who are like, you know, caught up in that, are finding that, you know, when you're duplicitous, or like people want to shine light on your hypocrisy. But if you're not hypocritical, you can kind of, no one comes for you, you know?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. And what you said, oh God, it just slipped my mind. One of the things you just said really resonated with me. It's, oh yeah, if you're telling the truth, you can, and people come after you, you can just back it up with facts, back it up with like pure researched papers like Sunny does, Vedic Cyber God, which I loved your interview with Sunny, by the way. Shout out to Sunny. Yeah.
It was so funny. I really didn't think that was going to be a popular interview, and it's by far the most popular.
Dude, I watched it like 3 times. I'm not even kidding. Just so I could comprehend everything. And because I think Sonny's voice is kind of funny, I like it. It gives me good vibes. But it's but if you're
Sonny's a gem. Follow Vedic Cyber God.
Yeah, for real. But I think that BAP has the right idea on a lot of things, and Sonny has the right idea on a lot of things. And something that they both have in common is they stick by the truth, and that's objectively beautiful. I believe in objective beauty. I think beauty is an objective thing. It is not subjective. I think there is objective beauty, and I think there is objective truth. I don't believe in subjective truth. I don't think that the truth is whatever any person wants to believe it is. I think there is one truth to each thing, and if you disagree with whichever one that truth is, then you're wrong. That might sound kind of hard.
I would also agree with that.
Yeah, and
no, it sounds harsh weirdly in 2020, but not in reality. Like, it's been the case. People believe that from, like, you know, from antiquity. Like, it shouldn't be a weird thing to say.
Yeah, and the fact that it is a weird thing to say, and that I'm even kind of censoring myself a little bit, is such a the epitome of our time. It's really like why should I be afraid to tell the truth? That is something so outrageous, that the idea that me telling the truth will have mobs of people coming for me, coming for my livelihood, my family, their livelihood, my job, it's fucking horrible. I mean, I don't know how we got to this point, but it should have been stopped a long time ago. And I feel that we're on an uneven battlefield, and they have gotten the upper hand by being let off with this far left progressivism for too long, and no one intervening. They built the perfect weapon, the outrage mob. So you do anything to oppose it, and there's outrage. It's really a wild weapon. And it reminds me of the current situation, which this might get me in heat, I don't know. But again, the truth is beautiful, and what's beautiful is good. Is 1 second. Okay. There's a bunch of kids yelling behind
That's an ambiance.
Yeah.
It adds some flavor.
It's a little distracting to me. I'm losing my train of thought. But what I'm trying to say is the BLM movement. That's what might get me in shit. But I mean, it's the outrage mob. It's a perfect weapon. It cannot be stopped, even if the National Guard was deployed to stop it at this point, because it's a psychological virus. It's so deeply rooted in people's minds that, I mean, there's no physical force that can stop it. You have to MK Ultra these people or something. You have to deprogram them. You have to do something.
Even though they're kind of the result of MK Ultra.
Yeah, they are the MK Ultra result. You have to MK Ultra them. You have to deprogram them, and you have to really. There's no physical force that can stop what has grown in America these days with this movement. If Trump deployed the National Guard to all these protests, it wouldn't stop them from winning. They're all, I hate to say it, but they're already winning. They're growing this mind virus exponentially. And if you disagree with it, then you're racist, and no one can be racist these days. So that's a horrible thing to be, and you'll never get a job, and you'll never have a life. So, I mean, it's the perfect weapon that they've crafted, and if you disagree with it, then you're fucked. So,
and it's become much bigger than
what to say more about that.
No, it's true. It's become much bigger than what it pretends to be. Like, even I self censor things. I'm just when I talk about it, and like I'm actually black, and like it is it is kind of insane what it's become, and not even like I could like it's probably always been this. Like, in personally, I think it was AstroTurf in a lot of ways, but like it. You can I can see when it first began that people like also believed it to have its ostensible meaning about like whatever, like keeping people safe. Like it's manipulating people's sensibilities, people's sense of like what's right, you know. And because they're being taken advantage of, it's hard to tell people like you're being taken advantage of with this. But alas, you can't say too much. Like I even here, I can't really say too much, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, I completely feel that. And I guess it's a result of the media having all the power. The media is the modern day MK Ultra. They perfected MK Ultra. It never went away. They perfected it so well so that you don't have to be in the chair, like what's that called, the like Fibonacci thing. What's the thing in the Clockwork Orange? The treatment
I
that
don't
they
remember the
do.
name of it, but yeah, what they hold your eyes open and they show you
Yeah.
like grotesque stuff until you
Yeah. So you
have a
don't
knee
need to
jerk
be
reaction
strapped
against
to
it.
a chair getting like your music blasted and sleep deprived and esoteric images like shoved into your face to be programmed anymore. You're programmed every day by the media and its messages, and by everyone being so online and the media being so online, they're able to control the narrative to the point where you have no other source of information unless you're a based Twitter autist and scour for like accounts like Loki Julianus, who will tell you the truth of the matter for everything. People should follow at Loki Julianus. He's the one who
He's basically the
opened
news.
my eyes to the coronavirus way before. I was telling my girlfriend in like late December, early January, that this was going to be so bad. And I got that from Loki, and he was 100% correct on it.
Yeah, definitely. I was definitely trying to tell people back then, and they were looking at me like I was insane. And now, people, and now they're coming to me like, wow, you were right about that. But then, any other topic, they're like, well, you're still wrong about this other topic, or whatever. Because, whatever. You can't undo the programming until it's too late, unfortunately. But you mentioned Urbit, and a lot of people in this corner, obviously because partially because Molbug is the inventor of Urbit, but like there, it seems like there's a lot of traction. Like I have a planet, but I can't seem to find my login details, which is really frustrating. But it seems like there's like a UX now, and it's like definitely building, right?
Yeah, sorry, just hitting my puff. So there's you used to have you run it in the command line, like terminal or command prompt, and they've recently launched OS1, which is an in-browser user interface, and really it's kind of right now just a chat room for other chat rooms and communities, as well as the weather and a clock. But other than that, I see it as something with the potential to grow to be much more than chat rooms with the weather and a clock. I think this will begin once users start to mass onboard, and I believe that will happen when OS 3 comes out. OS 3 is going to be its own standalone client. I don't know if you'll have to do a bunch of terminal commands to get your ship up and running, your planet, in order to connect to that. But either way, that is going to, I think, make it a lot more mainstream. And then once people start to develop applications on Urbit, it's going to be pretty big, I believe. I think people having a computer where they own everything that they operate with on it is a really big deal, and something that is totally necessary and prudent in the post-Satoshi era. I I think that I don't know. If you look at the bounties, like the bounty list, they give you
Mm-hmm.
stars to build applications or fix things.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the stuff that I've seen on the bounty list is kind of like it's kind of like a secret way to see what they're building without telling you. And I've seen that a
Mm-hmm.
guy is working on integrating Bitcoin payments into it, so you'll be able to send money from one user to another. And then a web browser is being built, which I hope I read that right, because that would be a really big deal. Because
That's
if you
awesome.
could, I mean, that would
I mean, I
truly,
use Brave. Brave is so dope.
yeah, Brave is awesome. I like, and also, do you know Brendan Ike?
Maybe if I see it written out, the name. I
He's
feel like is it
the
like EKYE?
EICH. He's the founder of
I don't
Brave,
know.
and he founded Mozilla Firefox and developed all of that.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
And it turns out that he's actually extremely based and red pilled. He's a super awesome guy. He was subscribed to the first Tech Wars. Actually, he's a tech warrior, and he's a really
Nice.
he's a really cool guy. I like Brave a lot. I don't know a lot about the BAT token, but it seems like a good concept.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I have the bad token just because I use Brave all the time, but the browser is great. So that alone kind of puts me in their camp. But I don't. I haven't. I just have some Brave because of it, because of my use it. But so in general, you have like. So I take it you're like pretty crypto aware in general. Like, are you only about Urbit, or just like are you focused on the whole market in general? What's your
Yeah, I wouldn't say I even focus on Urbit. I just use it as a hobby. When I'm bored, I go on Urbit
mm-hmm.
for a nice dopamine rush, to get some messages, some notifications. You know, it gives you that dopamine supply. But the so when Twitter notifications run out, I hop onto Urbit to keep my dopamine up like a true addict. But I do sort of pay attention to the crypto markets as a whole. I like to watch the prices
Mm-hmm.
of certain things, but I've certainly become much less interested in most, if not all, altcoins. I
Yeah.
really am starting to lose all kind of interest in any crypto project, except for, I guess, Urbit. I don't. I used to spend tons of my time researching and looking for new things and being so interested by it. Like Decentraland was a really cool thing to me, but now I just think it's fucking bullshit,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think it's going to go anywhere. Uh, but that's not financial advice, by the way. I don't know. Do whatever you want with Decentraland, but I don't monitor it too much. Like Chainlink just pumped up to like 550 yesterday or something. I don't own any Link. I know a lot of your listeners
Yeah.
probably got in at like 70
They do.
cents. Yeah. So
I want to like jump off a roof because I've had so many opportunities to be in
oh
Link, and
dude,
I've
and that's exactly
always been like,
why
it's a meme.
I'm saying like don't. It's actually John that my co-host who's right next to me that got me this advice is like it's unhealthy. It will make you want to just jump off of a roof when you see the price go up,
Mm-hmm.
and you missed out, or you're on something and you're riding it and it goes down and then you're panicking. It's like this it's like you're truly becoming the human Wojak, the real life Wojak, and
Mm-hmm.
that shouldn't happen. I think it's an unhealthy thing to obsess over, especially since it
I
involves
mean, if you haven't seen your
losing money.
Let me
if you haven't seen your net worth triple and then go to zero very quickly, you don't know what pain is.
oh
Yeah.
Warren knows I've been there multiple times actually. So my first experience with a big miss out, it wasn't even the whole Bitcoin thing, because like obviously 2013 everybody, it was like, oh, we could have been rich. Verge was the big one for me. I bought Verge in like 2017 because I liked the logo.
Classic.
And then I was like telling my friends, I was like making
they got 51% attacked.
Yeah, buy some Verge, the low price or whatever. And one of my friends, I got him to buy $50 worth of Verge, and like I ended up like making $100 profit, and I sold it. 2 days later, it went up like, what was it, like 10,000% or something insane. So like the $1,000 I had would have been like $70,000. I did the math, and my friend who put $50 into it,
and didn't sell,
made like something crazy, like $3,000 or something, just like insane. And that literally made me want to jump off of a roof. And then that's happened other times with other things. And I've gotten to the point where I've just been able to like numb myself whenever I see a missed opportunity. And now I've just completely distanced myself from crypto in general. And I think a lot of people like me would mentally benefit from doing that. And I think Warren's one of them.
A lot of people, even on crypto Twitter, which is kind of where I started, are all kind of mentally distancing themselves too. Like, it's just kind of, you kind of have to do it. You start to go insane, especially if you try to do it full time. It is not good for your mental health, as you said. Yeah, I did that last year, and I regretted it very quickly. Just doing full time crypto made myself actually nuts.
Yeah, I only I only hold Bitcoin and a handful of Ethereum these days. I don't trade altcoins. I don't take risks like that anymore. I've lost enough money. I've made enough money. I don't want to play the roller coaster game anymore. But I do hold some Bitcoin, and John knows this. I would literally be not looking at live charts, just staring at them for hours, being like on the phone with John, like, oh, it's at 9,100. Okay. Oh, fuck, dude, it's at 9,000. Okay. Oh, it's at 9,200. Oh, it's at 9,150.
Yeah, it's annoying.
It's annoying as fuck, but it's also like mentally unhealthy to be that fixated on it. So now I just try to have my Bitcoin. I have them laying in a ledger, so I don't even have access to it. It's on a hardware device, and I'm just waiting for the day where I like see on the news that it's worth $100,000, and then I'll access it and sell it or something like that. That's the move. Yeah, I think the best advice for anyone is
a binary option. It's either 0 or 6 figures.
Yeah, my best advice for anyone is don't ride the roller coaster game, and just whatever you're holding, hold it. Chainlink, guys, congrats on that. You deserve it, whatever. But just hold your shit and
Link Marines.
Don't look at it. Yeah, don't look at it until you're seeing it in the news, and then go see how it did. Just try and forget about it. Forget about it for as long as you can.
Only if you have like a weird, unhealthy relationship with it. You know what I mean?
Which is most people.
Right.
Yeah, which is, it becomes everyone. I mean, I can speak from experience. So do you have anything that you're like, for TekWars 2.0, do you have like a direction that you're heading towards, any like guests that you're gunning for?
Mike Ma.
Yeah, we're trying to get Mike Ma.
I've been trying to get, I understand.
Yeah, you know the pain.
He always responds to me, but
he'll always respond, but he'll never. He's a hard cookie. He's a tough nut to crack.
He is a hard cookie.
But Mike Ma, BAP is someone who's similar to Mike Ma, where he'll be like, "Yes, I must talk later. Need coffee," and then you'll ask him.
I've been
like
talking to BAP for like a year.
Yeah, and it's
still.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know. My biggest hope is Tony Hawk, which sounds like I'm kidding.
Nice.
But I do think I have a way to get in touch with him. And I don't know if he'd be down to associate with some of our past guests, but I do have a communication channel to him, and I do want to get Tony Hawk on because I grew up skateboarding, and I want to fucking definitely talk to Tony Hawk and have him on the podcast. That would be brilliant.
That'd be so sick.
Yeah, I would. I don't even know what I'd ask him, but yeah.
I mean, I pretty much only played Tony Hawk games as a kid, so that was my obsession.
Oh yeah.
I don't know, from the second I got PS1.
I was in New York a couple of years ago. I think it was like right after my 18th birthday or something, and I was wearing a Death Grips t-shirt, and it was like one of the album covers where it had like a I guess it was like a transgender or something with the boobs out on it. And I met Tony Hawk wearing that shirt.
Oh yeah, Money Store.
He kept pointing it out to his wife. It was really funny.
Yeah, Tony Hawk was a huge fan of John's The Money Store t-shirt.
That's awesome. Man. I knew Tony Hawk was bass. Good taste.
Yeah, he is. Based with good taste.
Very cool. That's it. That's all you need. I know. I mean, his decks were always cool, so I can imagine. But yeah, anything else other than TekWars 2.0? Anything else you want to plug?
Yeah, so go to patreon.com/TekWars. Even if you're not willing to spend money, we have a lot of free episodes on there. So every other episode is free. The other ones are locked. If you're a patron, $5 a month, you can get it. The locked episodes. And most episodes release for free anyways eventually. So that's if you want bonus episodes in early access, then become a patron and help me get this startup off the ground. I need a bit more funding. I'm going to be talking with some investors. So if you're Peter Thiel and you're listening, email me, and I want to plug that. And my Twitter is @inflation, like inflation, but without the I. So follow me there. I'm now the associate, and an associate I truly am. So patreon.com/TekWars.
The Twitter.
Yeah, @inflation. Thank you. And I think my sign off.
I can't say for sure that Peter Thiel listens, but I do know that other tech people listen. As from like down the grapevine. So maybe he might run into him.
If you're a VC or a tech person, get in my DMs, and I would at least love some feedback or to open up a conversation. And I will possibly disclose to you what I'm working on after you sign an NDA. But to sign off, I guess I'll say, keep with the truth, align yourself with the truth. The truth is beautiful, and what's beautiful is always good. You can't go wrong with that.
Fucking awesome. Thank you.